So, very good afternoon, all. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, it's nice to see so many of you present today in this class, possibly because of the last class. Is it the reason? Unfortunately, I couldn't meet all of you in physical mode. I was expecting because a lot of interactions were necessary for this class. This is a topic of your honors paper. So today I'm not going to teach you something very different. Already through this semester we have gone through so many things. A small component I will be going to add, and at the end we will be talking about the brief of what you say. I would not rather to say it's a suggestion. It's a brief of the journey, whatever we had during our that entire semester. That is how we can do this. So before that, already if we can just recapitulate our all previous classes at a glance, that is what we have talked about. That we have talked about a human-centric lighting, where human factors are identified, the fundamental roots, and the historical journey, which was started with a very fundamental visibility model and relative visual performance model. So the journey is absolutely endless because this every year once we are going to do further experiments, any further activity will be identifying that just as something which is very much relatable with your daily activities. So that's why I have told you very first day that how relevant that work is. This topic, the light and human factors, both are so much allied parts. So they are very much connected with each other. So that's why, though we know that once the civilization has started with fire, then the light came. So definitely everything has changed. But at the same time, human productivity, human performance, that is yet to be identified. One of my very favorite question I could have asked you anytime, that is, why so lately? Why this human factors related term, human-centric lighting term came so lately? Because it should have been come much earlier. But why it came so lately? The reason is today I have repeatedly told you, today we have the choices with the LEDs. A single bulb can create 20 billions of color, even your eye will not be able to distinguish them. You have LEDs which are easily tunable. The color can be changed, the intensity can be changed, the beam angle can be changed. So everything is so much that three fundamental parameters are so much controllable. So that is why today we evolve a term called human-centric lighting. So what is the fundamental block of, you will see the total 5 circles are there of the center circle, that is human-centric lighting, which starts with the circadian system, then the mood, then the visual acuity. This is a problem actually, if somebody start joining in between. So is it visible, by the way, my screen? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
And I'm
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so here you'll see that human-centric lighting, the last component, also I'll include my work and then the suggestion. With this, today we'll conclude. This human-centric lighting mainly talks about your mood, your visual acuity, your energy saving and sustainability, improve productivity, and lastly, the circadian rhythm. So this term is very new, just the way we know that Americans are very much popular to introduce the new term like Internet of Things, IoT. And in this way, they love to introduce the terminologies. The human-centric lighting is something like, but that doesn't mean that lighting which is required for human being. The very day the civilization started, the necessity of lighting was realized. But now lighting is so much controllable with you with the introduction of the LED. So that's why the human-centric lighting is becoming more and more relevant. Lighting definitely can control your mood. Several times, I think those who have attended the previous classes, many classes I have given you an example that you have a very tough day in university. And after that, suddenly you have visited, just for an example, a South City Mall. So you might be thinking little bit feeling fresh. Why? The color of the lights. You might be thinking that the smell, the air condition, the different products which are available in the different window shopping, what we call, that actually triggers, but mostly unconsciously, the color intensity of the lights used here and there in a mall, that makes a sense to elevate your mood. So we already have told you the root, IPRGC and MNI, and there is a part which we call suprachiasmatic nucleus part of the brain, which triggers both the type of hormones. What are the hormones? Anyone?
So melatonin and cortisol.
Right, melatonin and cortisol, and that's how your activities are getting triggered. That is a two fundamental. They, apart from that, rhodopsin, dopamine, there are a different sort of hormones which are also triggering, but that two are the main regulatory hormones. And that's how your mood, your circadian rhythm. The example of Peter Zokic, Kostic and Zokic, I've told you that the example in a night call center. So there, how the sleep and wake cycle was manipulated with the change of color and the intensity of the light. The consequences was not good because that Serbian scientist Kostic got convicted, because without any consent of individual, if you start changing the light and regulating somebody's sleep and wake cycle, that's really something a criminal offense. But still, that's something which very clearly says that yes, light have a role, very much role to regulate your circadian system. And if you have a better mood, if you have a good control over your circadian system, the light definitely will increase more and more cortisol, and it will improve your productivity. Energy saving and sustainability, that is a very vital component. I think Sangeeta madam has talked about the fundamental of illumination engineering. There she must be talking about the energy saving and the sustainability. So doesn't mean that I'll be reducing down the energy uses by reducing my existing load. Just something very interesting I can share with you that long back, once I used to work in a power station. I can tell you that is almost 20 years back or more than that. One day, once I came from the main powerhouse to my chamber at the administrative office, I have seen that entire admin block is dark. So I asked one of my senior that what happened today, why it is so dark, the lights are off. So he said that we had an energy audit, and the energy audit firm told us that we need to reduce the light. So few of the light we made switched off. This is absolutely a wrong approach of energy saving. You should not compromise with your light requirements. You definitely will not do over design, but you should not compromise your lighting requirements. That should be there. But use the lighting equipment which will provide you the same lighting requirement, but with a cost of less amount of energy. Simple example, very classical example. You know the electromagnetic ballast, the choke, whatever we use with the fluorescent lamp, tube lights. Those chokes are magnetic chokes, we in a colloquial term we call. This is not very much costly, but it's a magnetic, which consume lot of energy, power losses. So once that replaced with an electronic choke or electronic ballast, definitely the importance has changed, and also the energy saving is becoming more. You are not sacrificing your lighting, but you are investing a little bit more amount. So that is what we call, we are the engineers. Whatever thing we develop, we never like classical scientists who are developing something. We always try to optimize, isn't it? So we, all the engineers, are always trying to do the research to optimize the things, not to generate. The general classical scientists, they will be evolving some theory, some hypotheses, some models, some some inferences, which are very much necessary, but that's not optimized. So that is what actually we should do. We should optimize that. This optimization is our concern. So that's why we should optimize here also the energy uses. by introducing that. And how we can estimate that? Say I have a magnetic ballast of 100 rupees, and if I buy an electronic ballast, that costs around 250 rupees. So how much extra we are paying if we are buying electronic ballast? This 150 rupees extra we are paying, isn't it? Are you connected?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if we are paying 150 rupees extra, the thing is that actually what advantages we are getting? At each month we are saving our electricity bills. Now, if somebody will ask you that 150 rupees initially, whatever you have invested, how fast you will recover that with the monthly energy saving bill? What is the period we call? Payback periods. Simple payback problem. So that's an example. We need to introduce the payback period. So if you see that at each monthly electricity bill, I need 10 years to restore that additional 150 rupees, the payback is very poor. So that's not justified. Okay. So that is why energy saving and sustainability. So we know about the sustainable development, some technology which will sustain for a longer period of time. Sustain with the environment, sustain with the energy point of view, sustain with the adaptability, sustain with the situation. So that's why your lighting design will take care of the human need, but it should be energy saving and also the sustainability. And lastly, the visual acuity. So that will ensure the best visual performance. Again, in your class test I have given, recall back our chapter 4, which I am going to refer many times, Peter Boy's book. So that this entire 3-circle schematic diagram, lower one was the visual performance, then the task performance, and lastly, we have approach to the human performance. Now I'm talking about the Kelvin shift. What is the unit of Kelvin? Anyone?
Temperature.
Here we are referring the color temperature. Again, the Americans are always try to introduce a catchy terms which the rest of the world always grabs. So here they have introduced a term called Kelvin shift. What is that? This is nothing but the temperature, color temperature should shift. So this is an example at Light Fusion Laboratory. Whether I have shown this one earlier?
Yes, sir.
Already this has been taught earlier.
Sir, I think you have showed this picture, but
okay.
Topic
So
I
this
don't.
is actually during my work there at Berlin. So here we were basically trying to simulate the lighting condition based upon the outer atmosphere. I've told you that this is an example how we were doing the experiment. So this is interestingly, my color of shutters matches with the background color. So that's why we are creating the different colors in a room and we are trying to find out the performance. So whether I have shown this one?
Yes, sir. You have shown this.
This one also be taught. Okay, fantastic. So that is how, in an example, how in a different day of time your color temperature shifts. And now this is quite easy to control your artificial light to achieve this color. So that is why you will always feel connected. So this portion. Whether this portion has already been taught. This was. Can anybody tell me whether that portion has already been taught? Let me just recall a bit. If we have taught it again, let us today just this concluding part in more brief way. So that's human-centric lighting, change of the color, everybody is very much interested with. But the question which comes every time that whether this is at par or not, whether this is acceptable or not, whether this is quite identified or not, that is required to be done. You will see, you, my students, you are in the 4th year, just maybe from the month of May or June, you will be completely free to join different company, maybe a startup company, maybe in a core company. If you are joining an electrical company, you will see that somebody is claiming that I have this product, which is a human-centric one. The thing is that how can I justify whether it is effective with the human requirement or not? So that is why that subjective judgment with some questionnaires and the statistical analysis of the data was identified. The behavioral study and the statistical analysis. So this is some sort of question. Just an example. Somebody is driving a car. Okay. The color of the light and the intensity of the light is getting changed. So if this thing happens, if the color of the light is getting changed accordingly, whether the performance of a driver is at all getting attended or not, that we need to find out. How that can be done. Number one, I can have a set of questions and ask whether they are feeling comfortable, it is a good or bad, and that's experience they have. The second thing, I can ask to find out how much time they do take to identify. If you can recall back even the chapter 4 book, there was a analytical model experiment where how much response time was there, that was plotted. I think you all can recall. A similar kind of experiment we can do. We can allow some object to appear and ask the driver to find out that object or properly or not. So that is a behavioral study and statistical analysis of the data. A new methodology, that is electroencephalography based, that is our pioneering and proposed part. That's what actually we are going to capture the voltages which are appearing over to your skull. So that voltage will be an indication of your thinking. So if you are, as a human being, thinking something, that will be represented with this EEG-based method. Primarily, the EEG was introduced for the clinical purpose to identify the performance of the human brain, but now that EEG-based system is also used to identify the cognitive performance all along world. You are thinking something. So whether I can modulate that whatever you are thinking or not using the EEG signal. So what is that? This is very simple. I will be putting some electrodes. So what is my suggestion? This is absolutely, I'm sharing my own word. So where the number one will be a statistical analysis or behavioral study. Number two is this EEG-based study. So both are very much counterproductive with each other. So that is basically what we are always identifying. We need to find out. So in a different portion of the brain, we are going to find out the different voltages, and that voltage will be used to interpret that. So it is something with my own experiment. I am telling you, I am not going in by experiment because that is something beyond the scope of our discussion. Few of our students I have taken earlier. So there you will see an example how, can you see the current signatures? Can you see the signatures? Anyone?
Yes.
So this is basically
Yes, sir.
the signatures. So you will see something very clumsy. So don't be scared that I'm going. So here I have identified the 64 different channels of the brain. Here you can see the different 64 locations. Those are the channels. Okay. So where the electrodes are mounted and the voltages are captured from the eye, and that voltages are recorded. So here you will see the 64 channels and voltage, continuous recording of the voltage was identified. See how this is done. And this is the way how this is getting absolutely used. So continuous flow of signals, that what we are interpreting. And this EEG, finally we did some kind of signal processing which is not in our scope. We are getting some idea that our brain engagement is more under yellow light. High pressure sodium vapor lamp, that is a yellow light. So that is why my experiment, what I did, I have used a behavioral experiment or statistical. That means I have taken the feedback of driver. Okay. So that feedback was taken just if you see some object, click over there. So that is a way feedback was taken. At the same time, the EEG data was recorded. Both are to some extent identified. Both of them were to some extent got related. So that's why brain engagement is more under yellow light, yellow spectrum. So this is another of my experiments. So, do you know this place? Have you seen earlier?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where it is?
Yellowstone.
I know that in the coming month, you will be spending a lot of time over this place, very near to that, OIT. That is gate number 5, just opposite to our OIT. So here I have used a yellow light. The left one, I think you can see that is with the yellow light. The right one with the white light. So I have compared both the light and I asked few of my students, previous students, to drive to the road and find out the performance. So that is why they are driving. I think you can see the EEG cap was introduced. It's a mobile EEG cap which is flexible. So wearing that, they were driving the car and the signals were recorded. And finally, what we have got? We have got that under yellow light with respect to white light, the time taken by all the subjects, all the users are always high to see some object. I have shown some object, the object detection is much slower in case of yellow light. And also the brain signals, whatever I have got, brain engagement is more under yellow light. So that's why I did both type of experiments. One, the EEG based experiment, another a driver's response based experiment. So both simultaneously considered, and that's how we reached to this particular conclusion that brain engagement is more under this yellow light, and behavioral study, already I have told you earlier that the response time is less, much less under yellow light. So that is an example. I am telling you here this 2 example I have told you. It's not an universal case. I am not being able to say that for every cases it will come. Just an example how for future applications, even if any one of you are feeling interested to work further or to know or study further on that area, can think about that, how this color, how this method can be used to investigate the condition for the different lighting approach. So that is why here are the 2 approaches. One is that yellow light, another is with the white light. So this is an example, but doesn't mean it is the only case. Everywhere it is equally applicable. So every time we are thinking of that, this is an example how that human-centric lighting, whether the whatever lighting design you have made, whether it's at par with the human-centric or not, that you can investigate. So this is some of my examples. Here you will see that color of the light was changed. Finally, with this, I'll conclude that. So if you have any query, otherwise for this part, we will be talking something which is very important. Anything else there? Okay, so come to that part. So definitely here I'll be asking for, as I am not going to give you some suggestion type of things, because in this research field it is very difficult to provide the suggestions, but I can help you because it's a big syllabus in our online forum, so where we need to cover up. So this is a very important part we definitely will consider. That is the 3 different routes through which the light can contribute. There's conceptual framework, how the light can contribute. This is number 1. Okay. Is it clear? Number 1, this will be there. Then a stimulus to the visual system can be described with what? That means these 5 parameters. So we need to elaborate those 5 parameters. So that is also included. So the number 1, the schematic one, the circle. Number 2 is this 5 parameters which are necessary for that, and which are related with your visual stimulus. Then the light work and visual system. Out that I'm going to ask you that 3 figure of merits, 2 figure of merits and the 3 approaches. What are they? The figure of merit is a phase validity and generality, and the approach is a real task study, field laboratory experience, simulated work, and analytical study. So how they are related? So that example I can ask you to explain. Okay. Now, this example will definitely come under field study, the historical journey. That is from 1957 to 1959, how this performance is changing. So that is why here performance on two types of reading tasks which was given, that will be there. Then the analytical model where visibility approach, go through this visibility approach and the relative visual performance model. What is relative visual performance model? How can we explain relative visual performance model? After that, it will be there. So if we can summarize that, firstly, the schematic part, the conceptual framework with three routes where the light can contribute. Secondly, we'll talk about the different ways to express the stimulus. So how we can define a stimulus in case of light. That is the 5 parameters where the visual stimulus to the visual system can be described with. So that can be asked. That is the color difference, retinal image quality. I have explained much more elaborately. Then the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN part of the brain, and IPRGC, that relationship. Then directly will come the field study. So whatever field study we had in the past. So few cases I can ask you to explain, like this Stengel's experiment in a different month. That is how the performance was identified. Then the simulated work. Write a note on simulated work. What do you mean by analytical approach? And visual performance and relative visual performance. Write a note on relative visual performance model. So that is a sort of thing which definitely we will be focusing about our coming semester. If you have any query, just feel free to ask. Anything?
Sir, how will be the mass distribution?
Actually, so far I have came to know possibly your semester will be of 70 marks, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So if it is a semester 70 marks for each portion, so then I think 35 and 35 will be the distribution of SGS madam, Shangita madam and me. And out of that 35 marks, what I think I will be having either I can ask you 2 questions, 3 questions will be given. Out of that you have to answer 2. 17 into 2, 35, 34, and 1 or 2 marks will be given for the organized answer. That's the how I'm thinking of. Okay. I possibly will give you 3 questions. Out of that, I will ask you to answer any 2, and that will be 17 into 2 equal to 34. 1 marks will be possibly for the organized answer. So that is how I am thinking if it is for the 35 marks.
Sir, feasibility and generality.
I can hear you, Sarbojit.
Yes, sir. Feasibility and generality.
That is a thing. That part already I have told you that whatever study, the field study we had, if we ask you to do that experiment, 3 type of experiment I have told you. That card I have given to you, a table form, a tabular form. Possibly I have shared with you earlier. That is, number 1 is real task study. I'll be doing the real task in a real situation. The second one is a laboratory simulated study. I'll be simulating the real task in my laboratory. And the third one is an analytical approach, which we never generally do in our reality. That is a 3-way how we can do the field study. And what are the figure of merits? The figure of merits are 2. Number 1 is a face validity. I can immediately validate my answer. And number 2 is a generality. Whatever result I am getting, I can generalize it. So that is how we compared the face validity and generality of the three. Okay, so is it okay, Sharbajit, or do you need much more? So I can explain if you need something more.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
So that
Sir, can you please explain? Hello.
Oyun.
Can you please explain why the face validity is low in case of analytical approach?
Yes, because analytical approach, we generally, just an example in analytical model, one example is a Landau string type of experiment, if you can recall. See, in our daily life, we never do this analytical approach like Landau string. This is a something experiment which is related with your visual performance and your eye. So this eye and cognitive relationship was established with that. So that is why here analytical part, if you do that experiment and if you relate, finally you will developing a model that effect of light on human brain. But that for which work you don't have, because this is not a specific work we do. This is some work which is a model. This Landau string is a model of human brain, cognitive part, and the visual performance. So that model we never generally do in our daily life. So that's why I can't validate. I can't say whatever result I am getting there, that can be validated with a driving application, your classroom teaching, or any task, whatever we do. So that's are not directly instantly validated. So that is why it's have a poor face validity. But generality, because it is not a specific task, I am making a general comment between the color of light and the intensity. Color of light or the intensity of the light or something, whatever conditions with the performance. So that is why I can relate this color of the light with the human brain. So this is not for specific tasks. So that's why I have a very broad generality for the analytical approach, but I don't have face validity instantly because this type of work we never generally do in our daily life. Clear? Oyun?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any doubt? If you have, feel free to ask me again and again. Until otherwise you are getting satisfied. Anyone? Anything? Shivam? Oishik? Shahbaj? I see few new faces today, possibly for the last time in the semester. Pradeep? Anyone?
No questions.
If you have any question, just anyone, feel free to share because today is the last part. We will be switching off soon. Is it okay? So shall we conclude then?
So how have we done in our city?
Sorry, I couldn't get it. Please tell me.
No, sir, how have we done in our city exam?
Okay. I couldn't manage my time because you all could possibly will be aware of that. My laboratory, my own research setup for my PhD got completely destroyed with a very severe fire hazard in last 24th of March. Possibly you are well aware of that. I am so much struggling with the issues for the different parts. So that's why I couldn't manage my time to check your answer script. This is my fault. I hope I will be able to do it by within a week. Generally, I am a very advanced in that part. Every time, as soon as the exam cities are taken, immediately I do check the answer script and share with the student. But this time I am getting completely occupied with the restoration work. So I hardly manage my time to get checking those parts. So, but definitely it's my fault. I'll be making it at earliest. Anything else? Shall we conclude then?
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. This is possibly for the other departments, especially the mechanical departments, the students from the mechanicals. For all of you, this is very new to me, and I think mechanical students will be able to recall very first day in their first semester. I
Yes, sir.
met them in their basic electrical engineering and electrical machine class.
Yes.
After that, again, once I have seen all those known faces in my fourth year this class, I got really excited. And really, this was a happy journey. Though I had some issues, we had issues with the third wave of COVID. I got infected as soon as that distribution was that. After that, so many things happened during that, the crisis, the last biggest crisis, that fire hazard in my lab. So, but still, I have enjoyed the journey to see, and also I am very much happy to see the students from the instrumentation departments, because I had an interaction with the instrumentation departments, mostly with the faculties. Few of the earliest students, I can recall few much 2011-12 pass out students, they came with some projects with me earlier from instrumentation departments. So once I have seen that two departments, apart from my department, those two departments are very, very close to me as well. So really, I feel very happy to see all of you, and I definitely wish all of you a grand success. Not only with this semester is a small part of the entire journey. You are at the verge of this graduation, almost at end of your graduation. So we're about to see some bigger world very soon. Possibly many more things will not be there. The pressure we had always at generating with the curriculum, with the teachers will no longer be there. You will feel free, but a different life. So I really wishes a grand success to that, and best wishes for the semester as well. So, and by that time, within that, I am very much available with the WhatsApp. I think you know about that. If anybody at any time being able to know anything, just give me a text. Sometimes I'm not being able to take my phone calls right now, especially because of this fire hazard. I am getting so much occupied now. So, but if you have any doubts, any query, anything to share, just feel free to give me a WhatsApp message. I definitely will revert back with you very soon. Okay. So with that, I hope you already have your study material, the chapter 4 with you. If I can find some PPTs, I will be sharing with that to you by coming week, Monday. And accordingly, you study a bit. If you have any further confusion, just let me know. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
I hope you will be performing much well. That's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.